What's up, world? Jeff Lerner here. Hold on, I'm waiting for all these platforms to connect. And we'll go live there. Jeff Lerner in the house. What's up, world? Jeff here. I'm excited to be having a very important conversation these days that I don't think we can have too much of, which is how to shift from pessimism to optimism in the modern world. And by the modern world, I mean the world of 2020, the world that has kind of gone to shit, kind of gone to a messy place, let's say. A world where, and here's the biggest mess that I see. And by diagnosing the real cause, we can also assess the real cure. The real mess that I see right now is we have gone from a world that was quietly dependent on the powers that be for our ultimate future and well-being to publicly dependent. We have gone from a place of, well, I know I'm supposed to do it myself. I know I've been given these values of like independence and can-do-itiveness and, be a leader and, but deep down I have insecurities and I'm not actually sure that I can do all that, but at least I know that it sounds good and that it's kind of what I'm, supposed to do. In the last 6 months, we've just gone full like, throw up our hands. You know what? I can't control my own life. I have no say in my ultimate outcome. I'm just along for the ride of whatever policy or decision gets made for me. I'm kind of a victim. And if I win, it wasn't really my doing. And if I lose, it's not really my fault. I'm just kind of going with the flow. But I'm not in a very good mood about it. I'm kind of like surly and irritable all the time. And the fact that everybody's wearing a mask means none of us, even if we tried smiling at each other, it wouldn't make a difference. It wouldn't mean anything anyway. So we're just kind of we're not really going to smile because nobody can see us smile anyways, right? Like nobody's too happy about it, but we're all kind of going along with it. We're all just kind of like, well, my future's not really in my hands anyway, so let's just wait. Let's just wait for the government to figure it out. Let's wait for the doctors to figure it out. Let's wait for the companies, our employers to figure it out. Let's just wait. And to me, that is the most negative perspective we could take. Because waiting, the definition of waiting at some level is giving your power to something else. It's saying, I'm not going to blank until something else blanks. Well, that's disempowerment. So I can't blank until something else blanks. Oh, I'm waiting. I can't eat until they bring me my food. I can't buy that until I get paid next week. I can't come with you until I get a clean bill of health. I can't come see you until I've been quarantined for 14 days. I can't shake your hand until we both sanitize. I can't until something else happens. That's a disempowered perspective. Now, there may be some things that are worth waiting for, where the appropriate thing is to wait. But in general, it's not a way to live. Waiting is not a way to live, but yet we find ourselves now in a world where most people are kind of in a wait and see mode. Most people, not all people. There are some people who have gotten proactive. And I just did an interview on the Millionaire Secrets show, which if you are not subscribed to my podcast, Millionaire Secrets, I'll invite you to go to millionairesecrets.com and subscribe to the podcast there. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel where you can actually see the episodes. We post them on video too. I just had a guy on Millionaire Secrets named James Altucher. And if you're not familiar with James, he's a brilliant guy. He has his own podcast. He has all kinds of world leaders and genius, smart people and policymakers, and he has a really, really awesome podcast. He gets a lot of big guests. But he's also written 20 books, New York Times bestselling author. He writes a newsletter for Agora Financial, and he's just a crazy smart dude. Anyway, I just had him on Millionaire Secrets, and without any intention beforehand, the conversation basically led into this sort of worldview discussion where he's like, this is the first time in my career that I've had a little bit of a pessimistic outlook, because he said the other crises in American history have been like slingshots where you pull them back and you let them go and it shoots forward. The pullback actually creates potential power. He said the problem with this one is the government pulled the slingshot back so far that it broke, and now there's no power. And he was talking about his home city of New York City, where essentially they've broken, they've fractured the city. There's the tax base is leaving, the deficit is climbing. They locked it down too hard. And I think this is representative of what they've done in a lot of parts of the country. Like, you can never get away from the basic law of economics, which is that economics is the law, meaning without resources, everything goes to crap. That's the law. The law of economics is you got to have resources for people, and if you don't, it becomes a bigger problem than all your other problems. And the mismanagement of the world situation that we're in has created a scenario where whatever problems we think we have, we're going to have bigger problems when people really understand how much the resource game has been broken. And that is what it is. And we were talking about it, and he was kind of like, man, like, I'm never the guy to be a downer, but it's just it's hard. Like, how do you, there's no return to normal. He said, we're not up or down, we're tilted. It was brilliant the way he said it. We're not up or down, we're tilted. We're going in a new direction. It's not that we're going to recover and get back to going in the direction we were. Even whatever recovery looks like, it's a new direction now, was his point. And frankly, it's a direction that is going to create a massive amount of upheaval before anything can really stabilize, much more than we've already seen. He said, I know the restaurant owning community in New York. He owns a stand-up comedy club. And he said, I don't think anybody really realizes probably 60% of all the restaurants in New York are out of business now, probably for good. 60%. He goes, right now it still feels like a temporary condition, but people don't realize they have mismanaged this to the point where it broke. It's not a slingshot that's pulled back. It's a slingshot that snapped. And it was a hard conversation, especially this is a luminary intellectual figure, somebody, I read his newsletter, I listen to his podcast, I respect him very much. He's, smarter than I will ever become in 10 lifetimes. And he did not have necessarily a happy message. And so, but it was it actually was a joyous conversation, because we're able to work our way to the optimism that's left. The optimism that's left, which is not, it can't be delusional. You can't create optimism. Really successful people, one of Tony Robbins' key principles of really successful people is that they're very good at seeing things as bad as they are, but no worse. Think about that. Developing the skill to be able to see things as bad as they are, but no worse, is a trait of successful people. So we want to see things as bad as they actually are, but we don't want to see them any worse than that. And people can be, black or white. There can be a tendency to say, okay, if I allow myself to go dark, I have to go all the way dark. But the reality is, right now, there is significant cause for economic pessimism, but it's an economic pessimism that will force us to do hard, different, uncomfortable things so that we can actually find the vein of optimism that's actually there. It's actually there. And personally, philosophically, I don't actually think it's all that bad, because I have for a long time been very frustrated by how easily people are willing to give up their own power in their life. People are so willing to let it be up to the government, up to their employer, up to the schools, up to the states, up to the mayor, up to the city council, up to the deed restrictions of their neighborhood, up to the current state of medical science, up to whatever new wonder drug the doctors can come up with. People are so ready, willing, and able to abdicate their personal power to whatever somebody else, smarter, richer, or more powerful than them, has done to try to solve their problem. And we've been going in that direction way before COVID, but COVID has brought it to a head. COVID has held up a giant mirror to all of us and said, this is what a dependency society looks like. How you like that? Because it's ugly, it's corrosive, it's the opposite of joy. And this is what it looks like when we all finally acknowledge the extent to which we had already thrown up our hands. COVID didn't make us throw up our hands. COVID held up a mirror to show us how much so many of us already had thrown up our hands. And that's what's so terrifying about it. So how do we respond? Where do we go from here? I want to suggest to you that where we go from here is we say, thank you, COVID. Thank you for showing me how the world actually is so that I can no longer be in denial about it, and I can now start taking responsibility for changing it. Because the optimism that's on the other side of the realism about the way things are now is that this country and all of Western, capitalist, prosperous, economically bountiful society, this is not unique to the United States, but all of us are built from a society that celebrated individual potential, human potential, the ability that human beings have to do amazing things when they get empowered and in touch with their own personal greatness and their own personal excellence. And they stop putting their well-being in the hands of other people, and even worse, institutions. There is no institution that is coming to save any of us, because what institutions don't have is hearts and minds and emotions. Maybe they have minds. They don't have hearts and emotions. They have group think. They don't have group feel. Institutions are not coming to save us. We must save ourselves. And that is the optimism. Is that our excuses for not taking responsibility of our own fortune and our own future have been removed from our life. And what we're left with is the vacuum of no bullshit. There's no bullshit left. There's no convincing ourselves that it's going to be okay if we're passive. There's only a vacuum of, okay, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? What do you got? How are you going to save yourself? I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. Because what it forces is entrepreneurialism. And I happen to own a company that teaches entrepreneurialism, Entre Institute. I have been trying pre-COVID and now post-COVID or mid-COVID to create an awakening for people. That this is the time, only because the best time is now. I mean, tomorrow it'll be the time still. A year from now, it'll be the time still. The best time was 20 years ago, but we didn't do it then, or 100 years, whatever. Now is the time to take responsibility for our own fortune in this world. There's so much opportunity. They have platforms that have empowered us to create any life that we want. And yet so many of us are still sitting here thinking my job is going to save me, the government is going to save me, my neighborhood is going to save me, my church is going to save me. No, you are going to save you, or you are going to be your own undoing because you don't save you. And I believe that an entrepreneurial way of being in this world is the only choice. It used to be one of several choices that we could be sort of lightly enthused about because the world hadn't quite called us out so much like it has now to say any choice that invests your well-being in the hands of others is not a legitimate choice. The only choice now is taking responsibility for yourself. And I look at entrepreneurialism as the ultimate tangible form of optimism. James Altucher on the show, this guy rattled off. I asked him the question. I said, how do people win now? With all the hell that's broken loose, how do people win now? This guy rattled off some of the best ideas I've ever heard. He said, what about split testing restaurants? Digital marketers, we're split testing offers all the time. What about just printing up 5 different menus, putting them on Grubhub, putting them on Uber Eats, and seeing which one people want to order off of, and then leasing space in a commercial kitchen and just starting a food delivery business based on the votes that people cast off of which one of your menus on Grubhub they were the most interested in. Split testing restaurants? That's genius. And only in a post-COVID world does it even make any sense. Entrepreneurialism is the ultimate optimism. How do you turn lemons into lemonade? You start thinking like an entrepreneur. If that's been a struggle for you, if you're like, well, that sounds great, but I have no idea where to start, I'll invite you to go to millionairesecrets.com. I got to make this a pretty short one today because I got to get home because I've got a video guy at my house because we're supposed to be shooting B-roll and I'm late. So I'm going to bring this to a head by saying if you want to start on this path to optimism, this path to call it salvation, I think in the modern world, it's the only way to go. Taking individual responsibility, applying individual creativity to create individual solutions to what are fundamentally individual problems. Go to millionairesecrets.com, subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can start to dip your feet into what entrepreneurialism really looks like across a variety of topics. You can get my free book called The Millionaire Shortcut. It's going to talk to you about the fastest way to become a millionaire in the modern economy, which has not changed one iota because of COVID. If anything, the opportunity's gotten better. And it's going to give you an opportunity to subscribe to my podcast. And I appreciate you, every single person watching this message. Thank you, thank you, thank you for having the potential to make the world a far better place in light of a circumstance that a lot of people have resigned to, but every single one of us holds the answer if we'll take the action, all right? Take care. I'll see you on the next one.